despite growing criticism. Well, as we've been telling you, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Singapore on that leg of her Asia trip today. She will work to reassure Southeast Asia and more directly partners in Singapore and Vietnam of U.S. reliability on a short visit to the region, which is seeking more than a defense relationship. Her message is expected to be one of economic opportunities, and health, with many Southeast Asian countries facing rising COVID-19 infections and short vaccine supplies. She's the second high-ranking official to visit these countries in as many months following U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's visit earlier in the year. Well, for more on the state of play in this relationship, let's talk to regional security expert Lynn Kuok. Great to have you on the program. Lynn, first of all, it's the first major senior trip of the Biden administration to the region. But against the backdrop of the Afghanistan crisis, has that become so damaging to President Biden that her visit seems ill-timed and likely to weaken the U.S. in the region?
Thank you for having me, Karishma. I think as great a tragedy as what is happening in Afghanistan is, and as upsetting as some of the images coming out from the country are, I think if we look at its broader geopolitical consequences for the region in the long run, it's likely to be far less than what some of these images today might suggest. I think it's quite clear that China, for instance, will be seeking to milk the decision as well as its shambolic execution for all it's worth to suggest that the United States security guarantees in the region are not worth its salt, as well as suggesting that the United States is not a terribly capable superpower. And indeed, I think in the short run, we're going to see US credibility undermined. However, I think its implications for the geopolitics of the region will be less than what we might imagine, simply because US credibility has already for some time now been questioned in the region. Now, the reason why the region works with the United States is less considers it completely reliable, but simply because it's number one, the strongest still the most capable superpower, the strongest superpower in the region currently, and also because an unreliable partner is better than none at all, and in a region that's seeing destabilizing forces and an undermining of the rules-based international order.
So Lynn, sorry to jump in there, but just to get a sense of what you think the focus might be then for Vice President Kamala Harris as she makes her attempts to convince the region, both in Singapore and Vietnam, that the U.S. is a force for good in this part of the world.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, the United States VP Kamala Harris is going to be focused on ensuring that the region that the U.S. has enduring interests in the region, and it will be seeking to set out a positive vision for what the United States has to offer in the region. So it will be focused very much on the pandemic, how countries can work together to overcome not just the health crisis, but also the long-term economic recovery. And second, I think it's given that we had the Secretary of Defense in Singapore a little under a month ago, and he set out the United States security vision for the region. I think Kamala Harris will be very much focused on the United States economic agenda in the region. Now, of course, in a sense, the United States hobbled itself by President Trump's decision to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, now the CPTPP, and President Joe Biden's foreign policy for the middle class as well will, at least in the short term, curtail the United States' ability to enter into any trade deal with the region in the short term. So the United States' ability to forge greater and stronger economic ties, in a sense, limited. I think what will be on the table in Singapore, at least, and will be discussions on a possible digital trade deal. But I think domestically in the United States, there's still far ways off from that. And as well, another item on the agenda in Singapore, as in Vietnam as well, will be the strengthening of supply chains, strengthening of the resilience of supply chains.
Yes, all of that to sort of counteract to the rising influence of China in this part of the world, Lynn, as you well know. How successful do you think these sorts of deals and agreements will be in that aim?
I think it's important for the United States to show that it's not just about the seven countries in the region, that its interests in the region are broad-based and multifaceted, that it has interests in lifting the region up economically, as well as providing the security guarantees in the region. So I think it's very important in terms of a response to China. But I think it's important for the United States not to proceed on the basis that everything is a response to China. So these trade deals are very important in terms of providing Asia-Pacific countries with a platform for cooperation with each other, with an ability to put a stake in each other's success, as well as to be able to shape the regional security architecture, as well as the rules for governing relations between countries.
Lynn Kuok there, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.